Hi, everybody. Welcome into another edition, episode 111 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. Great to have you all in today on the audio side, Apple, Google, Spotify, and watching on the YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast, where you could see us both wearing a lot of Nike gear today. Myself, Jim, and professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, and co-host. I couldn't do the show without him. I've known him since I've been a teenager, Jake Epstein.
Yep, I've known you for a long time.
Long time. So
Yeah,
happy
Nike
Sunday.
they make a nice workout shirt. It's nice.
Happy
Comfortable.
Sunday to you. And sorry, we can't do a Nike promo on this program. They're not
No,
sponsored.
you're right. Everyone
Happy-
makes a nice t-shirt.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday to you. Happy Monday to the listening audience. I learned that yesterday when I was recording with Cassie on my other podcast, Cross Functionality. I said to her, Happy Wednesday. And she said, well, it's Saturday. And I said, yeah, but the audience, they're listening and watching on Wednesday. And she said, okay, well, happy Saturday, Jim, to you, because we recorded that show on a Saturday, and happy Wednesday to the audience. And so I finally figured it out. 2.5 years in of doing this show, we continue to go along with whatever and saying, happy Monday when we were recording on whatever. But now we finally figured it out. Happy Sunday to you, and happy Monday to the listening audience and watching audience, for that matter.
And happy birthday to somebody I know.
So, I'll get to that in a second because I have to do something clean up something from last week. I apologize ahead of time. I'm really looking forward to today's topic, though. Our main topic: contact but little power. It's something that it's worth digging into. Contact but little power, because a lot of people now, especially nowadays, want to hit for so much power, right? They want to just hit all these home runs, and they think that there's a magical formula and there's a magical metric out there to do it. But at the same time, now what that's doing is they're not making as much contact as they should be. Now, there are people out there also who, maybe like myself, when I played, had a lot of contact, but didn't have as much, I wouldn't say little, but didn't have as much power. And we're going to dig into that topic here today.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants more power. Well, what's amazing, there's two types, and I don't want to get into it too much, so cut me off if necessary. But there's two types of limited power. One is I'm getting base hits and I'm hitting balls to the outfielders, and the other is I'm making contact on everything, but they're just little ground balls to the infielders or little pop-ups to the infielders. So those are the two things we have to make sure we cover today, because one is, possibly bat speed oriented, and one is swing plane oriented or mechanics oriented.
Yeah. So again, this is going to be a great topic today. Contact but little power, episode 111. I do have to clean something up, though, from last week. Today is indeed my birthday. Ep alluded to that when we opened the show. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a year older, more mature. I don't think so. But I feel bad about the cliffhanger I left everybody on last week. And on this show, we've been doing this for 2.5. By the way, I have known you since I've been a teenager. And that's crazy to think about. I was thinking about that last night.
Oh.
Crazy. A lot of thoughts were going through my head last night. You have those pre-birthday thoughts. That was happening last night. It was like, 2.5 years of doing this show, I've always stood by my team picks, right? I said the Lightning were going to go back to back. They did. I said the Bucks were going to win the Super Bowl in 20 whatever season. They did. I said the Lightning were going to win this year. I mean, they did, but the officials and the NHL stole the Stanley Cup from them.
It wasn't even a series.
And I passed Emily Arena yesterday too. I saw all these people filing in for a gymnastics event, and it brought me back to like a Saturday in January when I would be filing in ready to watch a Lightning game and watch Tampa Bay beat like some Canadian team that I'm seeing for the 18th time, because that's part of my season ticket package. So anyway, and then I picked the Braves last year in July to win the World Series. Yeah. So I have to say, the last week, if you missed it, I mentioned one team from either the National League or the American League this year that could secure that third wild card spot. And that third wild card spot, for people who don't know, and from everything I've surmised, that team has to go on the road for the first series and win best out of 3. So they have to win 2 games on the road. I see one team doing that and going right through to the World Series. They may not win it, but I see them being able to do a feat. And that would be a tough feat to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready. I need to reveal that team. I don't want to leave everybody on a cliffhanger for the rest of their lives.
So I know. I mean, I haven't slept since we last spoke. It's been a rough
ridiculous. All right, here's the team. It's going to lead to a question for you. The Philadelphia Phillies. Okay. I think ultimately they will secure that third. Well, they could secure that third wild card spot, or they might not make the playoffs at all. But they could secure that wild card spot. Okay. Good defense, playing a lot better. A lot better defense. Got a lot more athletic too, by the way. Good pitching. I mean, really, if that starting pitching staff, you don't want to see them in the postseason. And number 3, their offense. There's certain guys. Bohm, he's hitting well right now, although I don't think he's as clutch as some people make him out to be. Nevertheless, he's hitting really well right now. Castellanos, as we've talked about last couple of weeks, he's ticking up. And I said this in the beginning right when Harper went down. I'll take it easy. But I didn't say their lineup would be better, but I did say it opens up a lot of possibilities for them offensively in their lineup, switching a couple of guys around, moving guys in and out of certain spots. It's sort of worked out pretty well, right? Bohm is number 3. Castellanos is hitting a lot better. You put him in the 5-6 hole. Okay, here's my question for you, though. For the Phillies to make the playoffs and to go to the World Series from that third wild card spot, they need Bryce Harper back, right? Okay. So when Bryce Harper comes back, whenever that is, I'm thinking September. Radical idea, but it's happened before. I've watched his whole career when he was in Washington. I watched him up close and personal when I was in Washington, living there for 2 years. And I've watched him in Philadelphia. I've watched a lot of his career offensively. I think I understand a little bit about him. Just throwing this out there. Don't kill me. What if, when he came back, I want to get your opinion on this. What if you bat him in the leadoff spot? I think it would work. Leadoff Harper, Hoskins 2, Schwarber 3, Bohm 4, Castellanos 5, Real Muto 6. Okay. There's your 6 guys. Harper leading off when he comes back. Yay or nay?
I think I'm okay with that.
All right.
I do.
Is that your birthday gift to me, just to agree with me?
That's my birthday gift to you. I think, well, I mean, it puts pressure. It puts, especially in a wild card situation, right, where it's do or die. This is your do or die approach. We're going to put him and we're going to apply pressure at the top of the lineup. That way a pitcher can't start the game and be like, I can, get ahead of these hitters, easily get ahead of the hitter. Maybe I'll get him out. Maybe I won't. It's like, well, I better make a good pitch or this guy's going to hit a double or a home run somewhere, and then all of a sudden, if he does hit an extra base hit, the place is going to go crazy. So from a managerial or coaching standpoint, it's, I like it because you're playing with nothing to lose, right? You're in that third spot. You have to do everything you can to win. It's almost like a game 7 situation. You're putting your best hitter, one of the best hitters in all of baseball. You're putting him in to start a game on the road, mind you, right? So it's like, he's starting the game in the batter's box. Now, what will that do to Harper? Maybe that puts him in an uncomfortable position. It's a conversation you probably have to have. I'm not sure he's hit leadoff before. I'm sure he wouldn't care, but you obviously have to have that conversation with someone. But I kind of like it. Like front load that lineup. They're not a scrappy little bunt slash steal a base kind of team. They hit, and I think it shows the team from a coaching standpoint that, hey, we're in this to score some runs. Let's get after it here on pitch 1 of this wild card game. Now, don't think I would do it prior to the wild card. I don't think I would let that come out. Okay. I would kind of use that as a momentum tool or a psychological tool for both my team and then maybe the opponent's pitcher as well.
Well, for further context, thank you for agreeing with me, by the way. Appreciate
Anytime, that. Jimmy.
On my birthday. Now I'm expecting you to disagree with everything I say next week.
Yes.
Now, I will say, just for further context, by the way, with Harper, he has batted leadoff before
He
in
has, okay.
regular season games.
Yeah.
Now, my reasoning behind it, not only I think it makes the lineup better, but also to your point about having him right there in the batter's box. I think with Harper, when he's going well, the one main thing he's doing, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to email us, jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He attacks. Right? We talked about that with Castellanos a couple of weeks ago. He attacks. And when he attacks, Castellanos gets that fastball early in the count, as he's doing. It gives him an opportunity to see more pitches. Okay, with Harper, I think he's best when he attacks early in the count. I've seen him break out of slumps by doing such a thing. So I think leading him off, he can attack very early.
Yeah, I do too. Or it makes and he gets on base too. Like people are afraid of him, and it's going to get him better pitches. Like nobody wants to start an inning or a game with a leadoff walk. Yeah. Okay, especially when you have firepower behind him, somebody that can hit a 2-run home run in no time. You got Schwarber that can flick something 110 miles an hour out of the park anywhere. So I think it's a good move, Jim. I do.
By the way, speaking of flicking things out of the park, Daniel Vogelbach the other night, your guy. 200.
My guy.
Well, because
we're built the same.
This was months ago when you said you were in love with Vogelbach. You said he's just a big guy who just hits.
He's a big dumb animal. Folks.
He's a big man. The other night,
he's a fun guy.
Speaking of Philadelphia, the Mets against the Phillies, he literally, this was on Friday night, he on pitch on the outer half from Aaron Nola, sinking away from him, he literally just flicked his wrists and hit it off the wall and left. It was incredible. Even John Kruk, who was doing the game for NBC Sports Philadelphia, mentioned that. He's just flicked his wrists. It's incredible. The power of that guy. And he runs pretty well. People say he's not that fast, but he's got those little steps, man, but he can move.
He's a good pulling guard for sure. Maybe a mobile center. Yeah. This is, I'm trying to think, maybe you can help me with this. We were trying to remember this. I was working with my cousin who plays my little cousin, my cousin's kid, who plays at Harvard. And he's a really good baseball player. All the online academy people know him because when he was like 11, he did all the videos for us. He did all the drill videos for us. So, now he's going, and he hits the ball hard. He's big and strong. He's a good athlete. He's, I don't know, 6'2", 210, something like that. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball, with BP balls, he hits the ball, 90, 98, 99 miles an hour, right? And he hits at in Florida. That's where he's from. He's from Florida. And he hits with, and there's big leaguers there in the off season. And I can't think of the guy's name. He used to play for the Marlins, left-handed hitter, big barrel-chested guy, never used batting gloves. I think he was
Justin
an
Bour.
out, maybe. Yes. Justin Bour is okay. So he hits with Justin Bour, right? So this is a different. So, my cousin who's 20, just turned 20, good athlete, and he hits the ball. He said he hits with Bour, and Bour's like, you don't need to swing that hard. Like just they're hitting off the hit tracks and whatever. They're taking BP together down in Florida, and he just hits balls into the back of the cage for BP, and they're 110 miles an hour, 112 miles an hour.
And this is Bour, or this is your cousin?
Bour.
Yeah.
He's just flicking his wrists. Mm-hmm. And so it got me thinking, like, it's a grown man, right? A big, strong grown man. But, what allows players to do that? Like, kid's got good mechanics. He's a great hitter, college hitter. Mm-hmm. Most college hitters, except for a couple freaks, are hitting the ball around 100 miles an hour. Why all of a sudden are these guys in the big leagues hit it 10 miles an hour harder, 12 miles an hour harder? Is it genetics? Is it strength in certain areas? I mean, everybody trains the same. They're all big and strong and fast, and they go to the same trainers, and they do this very similar regimens, and they do the same drills. The no legs drill. Bour does a lot of those, and you watch big leaguers all the time, doing the no legs drills, just kind of working on their hand path, and then some guys have huge leg kicks, and some guys hardly step at all. And I get the question all the time, like why do big leaguers just consistently hit the ball so much harder, and it's, I don't know, maybe we need DNA tests, maybe there's a certain gene in there that creates, well, I think there is, that creates explosiveness. And even though I have players that are 160-pound high school kids and they're good hitters, And then another 160-pound high school kid will walk in the door a couple seconds later, and I've taught both of them since they were, 12 years old. And one of them hits the ball 10 miles an hour harder. And they have very, very similar mechanics, similar size bats, similar size humans. What is that just explosiveness? And I think we'll talk about some of that today.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking the same thing, contact but little power. Why are some people really good at making contact, and why are some people really good at hitting the ball very, very far? And then you have a mix of both. You blend the two, like in Jose Altuve, for example, who has hit for some power, Carlos Correa, who you would look at and say, if you're scouting him, okay, that guy's going to be a gap-to-gap type hitter who may hit 25 home runs. His power ceiling is probably 25 home runs. He probably has a 60 power, which on a scouting scale is slightly above average.
Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Correa. But Altuve is the same thing. These are guys who gap-to-gap hitters. They make great contact, but they hit for power. And you wonder, you look at them and you say, how is that possible? Especially with Altuve. How is it possible that a guy who's 5'7", has great bat-to-ball skills, can seemingly hit for power at any point of the season, any point in his career?
Right. Because he moves good.
It's a mystery. We're going to try to answer that today, but
I mean, I guess you could look at sprinters, right? You look at people running and you're like, well, those people are built kind of the same and they have the same running mechanics, but man, that guy's hips move a lot faster. Those legs move a lot faster than the other guy.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that with all the technology now, all the analytics, all of the metrics, that we still have not been able to really figure that out. And people have their theories, and that's great. That's cool. But we still really have not figured out and put a concrete theory together to explain why somebody has more power than somebody else, especially when that person who has the more power is smaller in stature and weighs less than the guy who is bigger and doesn't have as much power.
Yeah. Well, what is the one thing they say? I mean, it's kind of old school scouting, but speed never goes into a slump, right? Speed doesn't slump, but like, you can't teach speed. That's the other comment that goes with it. You can't take somebody that's just not fast to begin with and make them fast. You can take somebody that's not fast and make them faster than they are, but you're not going to make somebody that runs a 7.3 60 and make them into a 6.5 60 person. It's just, it doesn't happen. So why is that different than somebody that swings the bat really fast or hits the ball really hard, and is undersized versus somebody that's big? Why is that we think is a teachable moment? I open up my phone and go to Twitter. I picked up 6 miles an hour of bat speed, or something like that. Well, I'm like, really? Maybe it was like you weren't swinging very hard when you first started the lesson, and then you started to swing harder after with a weight shift, or you hit a ball out in front and it was 6 miles an hour harder than you taking a ball to right field. Like, let's not eyewash, what people are seeing on the internet all the time. Like, that's kind of a crazy number. You don't really see that, especially with someone who's already advanced. I had a high school kid the other day, and he was hitting the ball 80. He walked in, it was his first lesson. He was hitting the ball 83, I think, on the hit tracks, 83, 84. And by the end of the lesson, he was hitting it 89. That's huge. 89 to 90. I'm like, we just gained 6 miles an hour. I didn't post it and say, oh my God, look at this guy. Why? Well, when he started, he was doing a nose stride. He didn't have much of a weight shift. So I gave him kind of a natural weight shift and had him be smooth with it. And he picked up 6 miles an hour of bat speed. And I said, okay, we need to go away from the no stride technique. It didn't work for you. Okay. Or maybe it's a good 2-strike technique for you, but you can't give away 6 miles an hour of exit velocity. That's craziness. Okay. That's the biggest gain I've ever seen, by the way. And then I see stuff on the internet. Well, this kid was, this, that, and the other. I'm like, come
on. Prime example, by the way, of this whole thing, contact but little power, our main topic today.
Great topic, Jim.
You have two different hitters. I shouldn't say two different hitters. Two hitters from different eras, right? Two hitters from different eras. Okay.
What does that mean?
Number one. What? Yes.
Me and you.
Number one was a lot better than the other. I'll let everybody out there make their own judgment. Number one, Hank Aaron. Okay. Comes from an era where power went away because of those stupid I can't curse anymore because apparently YouTube censors you. So I'm going to say God darn AstroTurf fields. Hank Aaron, who, by the way, probably didn't lift much, probably did some push-ups here and there, sit-ups, right? And then you have Barry Bonds, right? Forget the PEDs for a second, allegedly, and look at Barry Bonds and his body and his workout regimen, his dieting, and all of the advanced scientific techniques that came into play when Barry Bonds was playing, especially later in his career. Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, two different body types. Bonds was a lot bigger in size, not stature, but size than Hank Aaron. Yet Hank Aaron, arguably, according to some, a lot of people, is the home run champion. Both guys, though, different body types, different strength levels. They hit for as much power, if not Hank Aaron more than Barry Bonds. Incredible. And it's a mystery that we still have not been able to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, their swings were so different too. We don't have a ton of video on Aaron, unfortunately. You know, we kind of have a few of his home runs that he hit, but we don't have a ton of video, but he was he had a big weight shift. He hit more on his front foot. They couldn't have been more different in terms of both being home run hitters.
Oh, yeah.
Mechanically, hands, elbows, all that kind of stuff. They rotated the same way, but Bonds could just kind of sit on his back leg, and his core was so strong, and he rotated so fast. He could wait so long, and his vision was so good that he was just explosive. I mean, you're a little bit young for this, but Mike Tyson, those of you that watch Mike Tyson box, that was a different fighter. Like, he was explosive. Like, when he would strike, it was so much quicker and tighter and faster than other heavyweights that people, that we watched growing up. And that's kind of what Bonds was like. He was just this tight, compact piston that just waited until the ball was right on top of him and then exploded. Where when you saw somebody like Aaron was lanky and he had a long stride and his back foot came way up off the ground. He had a very flat swing. He was kind of wristy, when he threw his barrel at the ball. So they were very kind of different approaches based on how they were trying to get the bat to work faster. Bonds was more of a compact, strong turn guy, and Aaron was more of a flowing, wristy, handsy guy that found the bottom half of the ball and created a lot of backspin on it, because of his flatter trajectory. Or his flatter swing plane. So yeah, totally different guys.
Well, another example too, Aaron Judge, 6'8", Kyle Schwarber, 5'10", 5'11". They're both right atop in the top 5 in their respective leagues in home runs. Yeah. So what I think the point we're trying to drive home is that it really doesn't matter how big you are. If you have the right mechanics, the right approach, I'll get to that question in a second, then you have a greater opportunity. You raise the ceiling for your power and for you to hit more home runs, whether you're male, female, baseball, or softball.
And it has to be you.
Yeah.
It's different for everyone. It's different. You don't have to be big to have power, and you can be big and have no power. You have to find a hitting coach that figures out, wow, this guy's kind of big and strong, but he doesn't create a ton of bat speed. Where is that power loss? Yeah. Where is that, is it whatever? Do they not rotate? Do they not create separation? Whatever it is, like, where is that power? Well, there isn't a power loss. Like, these mechanics look good. This player just isn't super explosive. Like, his muscles are not super explosive to move fast. They're moving correctly. They're just not moving super fast. So let's not make this guy launch balls super high in the air. Even though he's 6'2", he's probably not a guy that's going to miss a ball and it's going to go out of the park. That's what you got to kind of figure out. Did I just get under it and it's still going to go? If we're not that way, we need to be in that 15 to 25 degree, average trajectory on the balls that we hit. Versus maybe you have a small guy that's been pigeonholed into, being a contact hitter, but holy cow, this dude really has good power to the. I mean, I remember consulting. I won't say the school, but to a college, and they had a left-handed hitter who wasn't a very big guy, but his pull side power was insane. Like, he was able to hit the ball in the air with backspin to the pull side 400, 450 feet, and he was probably your size, Jim. Like, he was, a good athlete, right fielder, Division I program, but he didn't hit the ball well to left field. Right? When they would throw him left field or they set up BP, he wasn't a guy that could hit he just wasn't comfortable. He couldn't hit a low line drive over the shortstop's head. Okay, especially in the game. Maybe in practice he could kind of do that. And so they constantly were working on him. Let it get deep. Let it get deep. Let it get deep. You know, hit it the other way. Hit it the other way. But it didn't match his eye. It didn't match what he was good at. And sometimes as a coach, you have to figure out, what are you good at? Are you good hitting the ball the other way? Then do that. But don't put a player in a position where they're not going to be successful with their second tier, ability. His second tier ability was hit the ball the other way. But he was so good at pulling balls. It's like, let him pull the ball. Let him pull the ball. It's not like he's striking out a lot. Let him pull the ball. He pulls it in the air. He's going to hit 10 to 15 home runs for you. So sometimes we get into, our own paradigm of what this player needs to be based on his size when we have to take size out of it. You have small guys that hit the ball really far and you have big guys that don't. So let's put them in a situation where they can be successful.
Your father talked about it in one of his books. This is a factor too, the mental side, and having a real approach going up there and understanding who you're facing and having a plan. He put that word in quotations, having a plan. Actually, he italicized it too in one of his books. How important is it, if you want to gain more power, to have that proper plan? And by the way, to follow through on that plan, not just say, all right, I have a plan, then go up there and, throw something at the wall and hope that it sticks. How important is it for that plan?
It reminds me of the longest palindrome in the world, Jim.
I don't know what that is.
A palindrome is it's the same forward as backwards, like race car,
right?
Mom, dad, spelled backwards. The longest one in the world is a man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Yep, you can all write that out. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama, and it spells the same thing backwards. Pretty amazing.
Give the audience time to write it out.
Yep, I'm giving you time. I'm stalling. This is professional workmanship here.
This is how you do a professional podcast.
Having a plan is crucial, right? Like if we go back to that player, okay, I don't hit the ball well middle away. Well, I'm not going to look middle away. I'm going to look 2/3 of the plate in. I'm going to crush something. I did it the other day. Not the other day. I did it all of last week, giving lessons. We would go through, okay, you're ahead in the count. Okay, this isn't a 2-0 count approach. Everybody's like, okay, 2-0, let it fly, whatever. This is an 0-0 count. I'll even give you a 1-1 count. Any count you don't have 2 strikes is your count as a hitter. It's not a defensive count. Okay, so just because it's not 2-0, maybe it's 2-1. Maybe it's 1-0. Maybe it's 0-0. Treat 0-0 like it's 2-0. You're pinholing something middle in or middle away. And I asked player, where do you handle the ball better? Do you like the ball 2 balls outside from the middle or 2 balls inside? Which one of those would you rather hit? Okay, I don't care. It's up to you. What do you feel good at? I'll give you commentary on what I think you're better at. And they always guess because hitters know what they're good at and what they're not good at. So I say, okay, well, that's what you're looking for here. The counts 0-0, 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, 3-1, 3-0. Okay, you don't have 2 strikes. Whatever it is, you don't have 2 strikes. Okay, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for a pitch from here to here. Okay, and then I'll make him turn around, and then I'll adjust the velo machine a little bit, and then I'll make them hunt that pitch. Okay, to have a plan. And if it's not in that window and they swing at it, then I chew them out softly. Well, what are we looking for? And 9 times out of 10, players get tentative compared to just taking BP when I just have the machine set up there and they're just feeling good, hitting line drives. All of a sudden, I put a little pressure on them like, okay, you can't do this. You can't swing at a pitch that's not middle away. Okay, if you're looking middle away and I don't throw it there, don't swing at it. And they freak out. They start taking pitches. They're defensive. And then we have a conversation of what is the difference now versus 5 minutes ago when I was just letting you hit? The pitches are in the same spot. A lot of times I don't even move the pitch. I leave it in the same spot, but all of a sudden they'll take it or they'll be late. And it's for fear of upsetting me. It's for fear of swinging at a bad pitch. And then that gets me into a conversation of why would I care? You're going to swing and miss all the time. Okay. Don't put external pressure on yourself when you're in the box. Pretend like you're just taking BP. And if you accidentally swing at a pitch that's too far outside, or you accidentally swing at a pitch that's inner half that you're not looking for, I'll still love you. Okay? It's not the end of the world. but be aggressive on that pitch. Because if you're aggressive and it happens to be a little bit more middle in, you might have a chance to hit it. But anytime you're passive as a hitter, when you're in an advantageous count, it's the worst thing that could happen. And coaches put that kind of pressure on. I mean, I didn't say any pressure. All I said was, tunnel this area, don't swing here. And that pressure was already applied. And you can imagine the pressure that coaches put on kids about, okay, make sure you stay in the zone, make sure we don't chase, make sure you let it get deep, all these thoughts that are bouncing off the head. And it's like, geez, man, just let the kid hit and fail on their own and then have a conversation with them. So, that's my teaching philosophy based on a lot of years of experience. But I see it all the time, that external pressure. And if I can apply the pressure as just their hitting coach and buddy sometimes, oh my gosh, imagine what, their college coach is doing, or their high school coach, or their travel coach is putting on them. Those players are going to freak out a little bit. So that's what's sometimes so great about the minor leagues. Just go out and play every day. Yeah. Play every day. Show your skills, show your ability. The difference between college and pro, that 1 week I had off and then ended up in pro ball, I was like, wow, they're just letting you play. Like, go out there and play. 2-0. Okay, do what you got to do, man. If you fail too many times, you're gone, or you're not going to play anymore. But they let you play. Pregame time is when you practice things. Oh, you need to work on something? Well, you do that before the game, but there's no coaching during the game.
I got to stop you there because I've known you for 15 years. You said that exact thing to me. I don't know. However many years ago. Almost the exact same thing. Almost the exact same thing. And your point was, don't worry about the mechanics. Don't worry about thinking too much when you're in the game. The time to work on things is pregame.
Yeah.
The time to tinker pregame. But once the game comes, don't worry about trying to hit for more power. Don't worry about trying to do this. Don't worry about trying to do that. Have a plan, execute it, and go have success.
Yeah. And if you don't, get them next time.
Yeah.
Get a pat on the butt, right? I mean, that's baseball 101. Well, it should be.
Now, there's a mechanical side to hitting for more power as well. You have to have certain mechanics. I mean, we could talk all day about approach and how that could lead to more power, and that's all well and good, and we'll never discount that. Mm-hmm. But when we look at everything, the whole picture, and trying to figure out how to hit for more power, I'm making contact, but I want to hit for more power. There's certain mechanical, what do you want to call it? Absolutes, I guess, mm-hmm. Right? There's certain mechanical absolutes you must have if you do want to hit for more power.
So I tell players three things you want to hit for more power. Three things that we can control as a hitter, okay, or as a human, not even a hitter. One is you have to create separation in your launch position. Let's take a step back because that's the second thing. The first thing is you have to have a weight shift. If you don't have a weight shift, transferring from your back leg to your front leg into rotation, you're not going to maximize the amount of power. Like the player I told you, the high school player that picked up 6 or 7 miles an hour of exit velocity.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry to interrupt about the weight shift.
Yeah.
When does that occur?
The weight shift occurs from your stance to your launch position. Okay. So it occurs from when you're standing there. If you're Mike Piazza blowing bubbles in the batter's box, still my favorite thing. How relaxed was that guy? Even like he'd hit home runs and be blowing bubbles. But when you're standing in the batter's box to when you plant your front heel and start rotation, that's your weight shift. Could be called rhythm and style is kind of where I put that into the equation. So your weight shift. So what I'll do is I'll have somebody come in, I'll have them hit, and then I'll give them a giant weight shift. Not a obnoxious weight shift like Donaldson, because that's obnoxious, right? Like players can't consistently get their leg up that high and balance on one leg, meaning every player can't do that. But a weight shift, right? Your feet are close together, almost like a walk-through drill, okay? And then I'll have them do that. And if they only pick up like a mile an hour mm-hmm. or not, then I'm like, okay, your weight shift is fine. But if they pick up 3 or more miles an hour of exit velocity, then I have to find a way to build that weight shift in and figure out where we can maximize it without being too risky. So that's number one. Number two is you have to create separation at launch. So after your weight shift, you have to make sure that you keep your torso closed when your front foot and your front knee and your front hip start to open. So at heel plant, typically the hips are going to start to open. Okay. Especially if you have a good weight shift. If you don't have a good weight shift, they may stay closed. But if you have a normal weight shift, your hips are going to open automatically. Like, especially for like-handed throwers. If you're a right-handed hitter and you're hitting right-handed, then, you know, you throw, and when you throw, your front hip opens when you land your front foot, right? Pitchers do the same thing. So that'll happen naturally. The key is, how can we keep our chest back at that time? Is there a point in time where your hips open and your chest stays back? Okay, so golfers, we see it all the time because they're hitting a non-moving object that's behind them, essentially. They're not hitting it out in front like a baseball player would. So you can really see that hip go. You know, they get to the top of their backswing and boom, that hip leads. It's very easy to see. In baseball, we can see it with slow motion, but it's a smaller move. You know, it's going to be closer to 30 to 40 degrees, where in golf, it's like 60-something degrees. So we have that move. So if you have a weight shift and you have torque, that's two of the three things to create more bat speed. Okay, more bat speed equals more power, typically. Okay, you can launch the ball higher for more power, 25 to 35 degrees. But if you don't have bat speed or you don't hit the ball hard enough, then they're flyouts. So that doesn't do you any good if you're 10 years old and you're launching balls high and the outfielders catch all of them. Okay, so we're trying to increase exit velocity. We're trying to make the ball move faster off of our bat. The last thing is a barrel release, which, you know, we talked about Hank Aaron being kind of risky and using his hands. You know, that's a big part of it. You know, a lot of people, you know, talk about, you know, if you watch not Castellanos as much, but JD Martinez, you know, somebody that really keeps the barrel, stays inside the ball. You know, that's a very little barrel release. Okay, he's not flinging that barrel through. He's, you know, more extending and using his body to extend through it, and he's strong enough to hit it far. But somebody like Altuve, it looks like a shillelagh he's swinging, right? Like he's just whipping that bat through left and right, which is kind of what the old school undersized guys used to do. So we do a lot of the no legs drill. Okay, the no legs drill actually forces you to create lag with the bat, getting the knob out in front, and then releasing the barrel. Okay, taking tension out of your hands, releasing the barrel. So if you add that on top of having a good weight shift, creating separation, and then you're able to release the barrel, that's usually the three things that I, as a hitting instructor, or you as a player, can do to increase bat speed. Now, the problem is, what happens if that isn't enough? Well, the first thing I go to is, how much do you weigh? Weigh 150 pounds. Well, that's why you hit the ball 82 miles an hour. Like, I'm sorry, but you're not a freak explosive athlete. Are you fast? Not usually. Can you jump high? Not usually. Okay. Well, I find a lot of barrels, coach. Okay. I hit singles all day long. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You're 150 pounds. What happens if you're 165 pounds? Well, you probably hit the ball 3 miles an hour harder. Okay. What happens if you're 175 pounds? Okay. Maybe we hit the ball a couple miles an hour harder. Okay. That's probably, you're not going to get any bigger than that. You're 5'9". I don't think we're going to get to 190. Okay, maybe you are, but you don't have that build. You don't have that genetic look to you. So what's the fourth way to hit the ball harder and have more power? Get stronger. Get physically stronger. Okay, how do we do that? Well, Jake, I work out, 4 days a week. I do, pretty explosive moves. Okay, how many calories do you eat a day? Well, I don't know. Well, what'd you have for breakfast? Cereal. Did you have a protein bar or something before you came here? No. Probably have, I don't know, a sandwich or something after. A sandwich. How many calories is in the sandwich? Did you make the sandwich, or is it, Jersey Mike's 1,000-calorie sandwich? That's what you need. You need like 3 of those a day. You need to have 4,500 calories a day. You want to put on weight? You're lifting. Kids are like calorie burning machines, and they can't, if they lift and they don't eat, they're not going to put on weight. And if they don't put on weight, they're not going to swing the bat harder. So those are kind of the 4 things: is weight shift, creating separation, barrel release, and then the last one's getting stronger. But you got to get stronger the right way. You have to eat. You can't just work out. And so many people neglect the nutrition part of that.
On the mechanics side of things, how much does a torque angle? We've talked about it on this program before. Yeah. Josh Donaldson's torque angle, it's somewhere near 40 degrees. Other guys aren't that high. How much does torque angle have to be incorporated in your thinking to, now I can gain more power?
Jim, you're such a good host.
You're just saying that. You're saying that.
No, I'm not. I actually forgot it was your birthday. That's a quality. That's a great question, right? That's a great question.
Yes.
It ain't that much. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Carlos Correa hits
ain't that much. I'll tell you that much.
He's like 28 to 30 degrees. He doesn't create much separation. Donaldson creates 40. Miguel Cabrera created 40. Some guys create a lot more than others. Here's the deal: you got to create some. Okay. Right. When you don't have any, meaning if your front shoulder moves. Remember the old school technique that nobody thinks. Old school's stupid. Knob to the ball, right? And then we saw Tony Gwynn, right? That was Tony Gwynn's knob to the ball, right? That's stupid. You don't want to do that, right? And then the other one is keep your front shoulder in. That's the other old school one. Well, keeping the front shoulder in is important until your hip opens. Okay, if your front shoulder's not down and in, I mean, that was my dad's big thing. God, as a kid, and then it was in all his videos and books. Down and in with that front shoulder, down and in, then you can let your hips go. But if you let your hips fly and your front shoulder's not down and in, then you pull off. Yeah. Okay, so the front shoulder down and in does one, it keeps you back a little longer, it creates separation. So you have to have that front shoulder down and in, especially if you're a huge hip guy. Like if you have explosive hips, the front shoulder is the governor to keep you from pulling off everything and spinning on everything. So if I increase, so I mean, I use the KVS system too. KVS measures your kinematic sequencing. I've changed players' kinematic sequencing. I've increased their stretch factor, their upper body staying back, their X factor or torque position by 10 degrees, and their bat speed hardly moves at all. So sometimes you see an increase there and sometimes you don't, meaning I've had players that are at like 30 degrees of separation, and then I get them into the high 30s and it doesn't even tick the meter. If you have somebody with 0 degrees of separation and you give them 20 degrees, that's where you see the biggest. Okay, so you have to have some. I would say you have to have a minimum of, say, 25 degrees of separation. But going from 25 to 35 isn't going to make you hit the ball 10 miles an hour harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to recontextualize this topic today, contact but little power, and discuss it with the backdrop of current day baseball and current day softball, for that matter. Did we miss anything? I'm pretty sure we covered everything as it pertains.
We didn't, Jim. We missed it, and I'm sorry it's your birthday, but I'm going to call you out on that. We did miss. I missed something, not you.
I missed
what
it too.
I missed was
we're a team here.
We're a team.
I missed it too.
Team.
So what did we miss?
Jimbo Jake.
What did we miss?
We missed players that come in and they say, I make a lot of contact, but don't have any power, yet I'm not getting hits. So I see a lot of that. And I know a lot of the people that listen to this podcast have younger kids, have 10-year-old kids or coach 10-year-old teams where, Johnny hits the ball every time, right? But it just goes to the pitcher, it goes to the third baseman, it goes to the first baseman. What is causing that? Like he never strikes out. I get that. He never strikes out. Well, the kid's got good bat to ball skills, right? If he played wiffle ball, he'd be pretty good. He has good eye-hand coordination. Okay, but he has a terrible swing, and so sometimes we don't have any power, or we're not hitting at least to the outfield. I don't care if you don't have any power. I don't care if you don't hit the ball hard at all, but we can hit the ball. We can stay on plane. We can extend through the ball. We can use our 10-year-old bat speed to at least hit line drives over the infielders' heads. Okay. So, but if we're not doing that, we're just hitting little dinkers, then it means our mechanics are off. So sometimes if you're young and you, quote, don't have any power, it's mechanical based. It's typically a wrist roll. It's an extension issue. They don't have enough strength in their arms, or their body's rotating and then stopping. So they're out of sequence. That's probably the main thing, is that they're long with their arms, their legs kick in, and then their legs are done, and the bat's not to the ball yet. And so they just quit at contact. There's nothing left. So there's different kinds of, hey, I need to increase my power, and because I make a lot of contact. Making a lot of contact, it means you have good eye-hand coordination. That's good. But we can also take somebody that's, say 100 pounds or less, maybe 80 pounds. We can fix their mechanics. They're still not going to have like power because they're not the giant 10-year-old, right? The giant 10-year-old has power, swinging a drop 10, hitting balls, into the gas. But the 80-pound 10-year-old can at least hit line drives with good mechanics over the infielders.
All right. So I think we've covered everything.
Correct.
Yes. Well, we do have a listener question. Let's get to that. Pull it up here. Our listener question sent to us from Nick via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He writes, "Hello guys, hope all is well. My name is Nick Camilleri from, I hope I said his last name right, from New Jersey. I train high school and college hitters out of my facility. I have a question for Ep. It's a two-part question. Number one, on the downswing, what do you want to feel with your top hand besides knob entering in before your elbow? I know the feel differs from player to player, but what is a good cue to tell a hitter who is missing under the ball? In parentheses, elbow enters before the knob. Do you want to answer that one first and then go to number two?
Of course. I'll forget number two. I'd be bad if I was running for president and they give two-part questions. What do I tell? And you're exactly right, Nick, with cues, right? With, it's a different feel for everyone. I will tell you some of the ones that I use for my, especially online, my online academy members, because I'm not there in person, putting them in the right position. I have to use words to kind of help with that. So one of the things is you feel like your armpit is open. So you can, this is a family show, but everybody loves BO. So we tell kids that, like, you're stinky, right? Your back armpit stinky. You got to air it out a little bit, right? It's Tampa. It's sticky. It's sweaty. You're working hard. Okay.
I don't try to keep that. So if that's what you're alluding to, I don't smell. I always smell great. I have great hygiene.
I wasn't alluding to anything. I was just saying it's hot and humid. Kids
you said Tampa. You said. I think that's a shot from earlier when I said that the Lightning won the Stanley Cup.
I'm looking at a business park in the background of our podcast here. What am I seeing here? Is that Tampa?
Go ahead. What's your?
So keep the armpit open. Don't smash that armpit. So what happens is if they keep it open, they'll tend to rotate. Those of you that are watching online can see my shoulders. They'll rotate and that shoulder will stay down. Ooh, let's go up there. If my armpit's open. If my armpit goes down, then all of a sudden my front shoulder is going to come up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell them to keep their armpit open or any kind of variation of that. That's one way to tell, because if the armpit's open and we start to move to the ball, then the knob will automatically lead. If the armpit closes first, that's what leaves the hand behind. Okay. So that's one. The other one is sometimes I'll tell players if they drop their barrel, remember your hand, your top hand is, if you have a good grip, is a reflection of the barrel. Okay. So if you're dropping the barrel, if you go palm up too soon, okay, you want to be palm up, put down contact, but if you go palm up and then turn, then you're going to lose the barrel. And if you go palm up, watch what my elbow does. It goes underneath. Okay. So a lot of times I'll tell people to just try to slap with that top hand. Okay. Try to keep your top hand a little bit more vertical. Sometimes that helps.
Okay. Second part of the question. On a prior episode, Ep mentioned missing the cookie usually means a foul right back. My mom made me cookies, by the way, for my birthday. Now, come to think of it.
Are you going to eat them though? You're a pretty clean eater.
I'll probably have one or two. Okay. Anyway, missing the cookie. You've said that on the show before. Can you talk more of the physics and mechanics of what is actually happening when an elite hitter, college professional, misses straight back? I always say, personally, thank you, Nick, for the question sent to us via Jimbo Podcast 21@gmail.com. I always say, when a hitter, every time a hitter I have like this weird habit tick in my head. Every time a hitter fouls one straight back, I say, he's not right on it. He's slightly late.
Yeah, that's right. And that's pretty much my dad used to say that. Ted Williams used to say that. But the more you look at it, they're under.
Yeah.
I don't know if their barrel was up and not down. So they could be late. Okay. So if you have a slight uppercut.
Well, but to your point, though, you are right, because a lot of, how many pitches do you see? How many guys do you see on low pitches, knees to thighs, fouling those pitches straight back? You really don't see it as often as you would a pitch that's a little bit higher around the belt, right, maybe a little bit above.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that. Yeah, so you are late, but if you have more of a slight upswing, okay, like you drop under the pitch plane, and we've only done like 50 analysis, on our YouTube page. But, if you drop underneath the pitch plane and you don't get back up to it, then you're considered late, right? If you were early when your barrel's coming back up to that pitch plane, then you would have hit it. So common thought, and most players, you have to have a little bit of a barrel drop. Otherwise, you won't ever hit a ball in the air, right? We want to hit line drives in the air. So that'll happen. But if you don't have a hole in your swing, right? If you don't lose the barrel early, you won't miss those pitches. Okay. So even if you're late, you'll shoot it into right field somewhere. Okay. Your barrel will be on that ball instead of slightly underneath it. So, mechanically, or I won't say mechanically, physically, what's happening is you're losing the barrel early. You could be casting right away. You could have bat drag right away. You could be a hand dropper, when you launch, instead of your hand staying up by your head. You've started to drop your hands. I'm working with a few players right now, and that's a really hard thing to break, because you won't be able to hit anything at your belt, which are usually cookies. When I watch MLB highlights, that's kind of the pitch that most people hit out of the park, especially Sir Albert Pujols. He's 22 again, hitting every high fastball out of the park. Yeah. So yeah, it's a barrel drop. It's usually, we talked about it in your first question, Nick, that the elbow coming underneath. That's typically what it is. Sometimes it's the front shoulder leading early, but what's happening is your barrel is dropping too soon. It's dropping below the pitch plane too soon in the zone. And so you're either missing that pitch or you're fouling it straight back.
All righty. Do you want to do a promo for the lab, or did you kind of just did one right there? Yeah. The whole show.
It's what we do every single day. It's what we do. It's what we do every single day. That's what the podcast is about, right? What do we do? What makes us successful? So yeah, come visit the lab. I will tell you, I'm going to be there in a couple weeks. So those of you lab listeners, you know who you are, because I hear from you all the time. I will be there. We're going to do a huge assessment on a Saturday. We're going to start doing these like every 6 weeks, where we're measuring all your stuff. So I'm going to obviously do a video analysis of your swing, which I normally do for them, to make sure we're staying on track. But it's going to be fun. We're going to throw the K-vest on, make sure that our sequencing is right, make sure that we do have a torque angle. We're going to have the blast on to make sure that we're not swinging up or down too much, okay, or we're not losing the barrel with our vertical bat angle. We're going to have hit tracks to test, how consistent we are, number one, and then how hard we're hitting it. So it'll be a pretty fun thing. And we might do grip strength, because our strength coach is awesome. He's got these little grip strength meters we can use.
So that is the Lab BCS. For more information, log on to thelabbcs.com.
Yes,
and
sir.
Right into the wonderful owner of the Lab BCS that I talk to every week. Professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, and co-host. I've known him for now 15 years. Next week, Gaining the Edge, mental preparation. That's our topic. Next week, we alluded to a little bit of the mental preparation for how to hit for more power. This week, we'll dive more into gaining that edge, mental preparation, next week.
Looking forward to it, Jim. That's another good way to put us over the edge.
Yeah. Put us over the edge for what?
Not doing another episode.
That's it, right?
Happy birthday, Jim.
Thank you very much. Don't forget the other podcast that I do, Cross Functionality, with Cassie Riley Boscia, every Wednesday, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Softball Strength Academy, the YouTube page. We are in the middle of a 5-part series, and we talked about her senior year on the road to the national championship, the regular season. So be sure to listen and watch that as well. Okay, we're done. We will talk to you next week, episode 112. Thank you for listening, watching, subscribe. We do appreciate it, and have a great week.